Tom Garrett tweeted, like I said, Matheus Cunha starts for every team in the league, bar possibly Liverpool. Ridiculous player. Let's start here. Yes, we're going to talk about Man City. Yes, we're going to talk about Spurs. We're going to talk about my beautiful Portuguese lookalike, Ruben Amorim. We're going to get to that. But let's talk about this topic first. There seems to be a lot of number nines or players outside of the top six that are basically good enough to play in the top six. No?
Yeah, I think like with the Cunha one, I had to go back in my archive to find this, but I put a tweet out in November last year which said Mateus Cunha has everything I want in a Man United player. Bring him to
Mad.
Old Trafford immediately. And I had to
Mad.
go back and I was like, I'm just saying like back then he was standing out in the Wolves side, and he's now got like Gomez, and he's got even Andre coming in. He's got some like good fringe players around him to make him look even better. But even with them around, he's still the main guy. Like without him, Wolves they don't work. And I think like there's a lot of like he fits in that weird sort of, is he a 9, is he a 10, is he a 9.5? But no one really knows like how like what his best position is. But his mobility and his depth of range as a forward, like he is, I'm surprised that most haven't gone in from him already. But next season, like if he's at Wolves, I'll be shocked. I'll be so shocked.
I feel like they signed him for like 60 million though, because someone said to me, like, basically we were discussing this in a WhatsApp group, and someone said, oh, he'll be a great bargain for someone. And I was like, but I swear Wolves bought him for 50, 60 million. So
Yeah,
like, if you have to buy him from Wolves, how much was Mateus Nunes came? 55, was it?
Yeah, 55.
So like, he wasn't their best player then. Like,
Mm.
not like Mateus Cunha is now. Cunha, he's at a level above.
Mm.
The only one really that I can think of in recent times that has arrived on a cheap to somewhere and then might get another move somewhere else is Joao Pedro. I think Brighton got him for like 20 mil. They'll probably get 70, 80 mil for him potentially if he goes. It's just we're going to come back to this conversation. We just wanted to touch on this tweet very quickly. Towards the end of the pod, we'll discuss. Go on, Kim.
No, the one thing I would say though, like there are loads of good strikers towards the bottom half of the Prem and outside of the top six for sure. But I also do think the demands on them are a lot less, and it's a lot easier to stand out. Like if you look at sort of maybe Solanke, for example, last
Exactly,
year,
yeah.
he shone because he scored like 21 goals for Bournemouth, but that was his only job. Like he's been quite good at Spurs, obviously, in my opinion. Like I think he works really hard, but he's not scoring the goals, and he doesn't look like a £60 million striker yet. And I think it's the same with quite a lot of these players in the sort of lower half teams who obviously will score a lot of goals because a lot of play will be centered basically just towards them. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they can make the step up and play in like a City or a Liverpool or an Arsenal where every single game is a final and you've got to be technically really good with your feet. You've got to be like creating assists as well. But I'm not denigrating Cunha or any of those players, but I do just think like it's easier in those teams to look better, especially if you're a striker, because all you have to do is put the ball in the back of the net and you're getting the ball a lot compared to everyone else on your team.
The Solanke one's interesting because obviously, Davina, you're a Spurs fan. I think when he went to Spurs, I was like, maybe this, like, I felt like it was the right time for him to go to Spurs. He spent a lot of time sort of like jostling with how good a player he is. I do agree, though, that while, yeah, these guys are like unbelievable for that level is very different to like competing for a title. Say, for example, Liverpool beat Southampton today. If that's not Salah in that position to score those 2 goals, is there another right winger in the league, bar Saka, that can do that? That's playing for one of the lower. Let's say it's Solanke. He probably doesn't score those goals. So then you're going, maybe it is actually a quality difference rather than just chuck someone in there. But no, I just thought about Spurs team. Kulusevski was a bit
Yeah.
part player
Yeah,
elsewhere.
definitely. Like he was not wanted at Juve, same as Bentancur, and that's why we were able to get them on such a bargain. But the Solanke point, I think it's a mixture of like the quality part and the fact that he was at Bournemouth because, like Kim said, when you're at a lower league club, everything goes through you, and you're dependent. You're the only dependent. Everyone's dependent on you for the output. So every single attack will come to you, and you have to finish it. Whereas at Tottenham, they're so much less reliant on one striker, which we have been reliant on one striker in the past, and we kind of had to learn how to play without a direct striker. And that's why I think having one striker play up front like hasn't been as successful for Solanke as he was at Bournemouth. So yeah, it's an interesting point that you raised, Naveed, about the quality point because you are right. I think it's a combination of having experience in lower league teams and being the high performer, as well as if you were to replace any high performer in a title competing team with someone from a lower league side, don't think they'd produce the same results.
And there's also probably like a freedom element with it as well, because when you are a sort of lower league, a lower team in the league, and you're playing against these bigger sides, so to speak, like you still have to beat them. So still getting these types of results or these types of performances out of you, you're still competing with teams that are either on your level or above, and all of a sudden you're switching that to on your level or below when you're playing for a different side, but you still have to go in and actually do the job against the same caliber of opposition, if not a bit higher or less. So, but there is that element that Kim kind of referred to there, where you are the only person doing it, so you get more chances to do it. So the law of averages says you're going to convert a lot more. So I'd love to see what the actual difference is between Solanke getting the chances at Bournemouth compared to Spurs, but like that's probably the key element there, I think.
All right, we're going to come back to this topic of conversation, but let's move on to the bit you're here for. He's just had the biggest sigh in the world. Oh God, that was Kim. For listeners, for YouTube watchers, you would have seen him just sit back. Why don't I just let you talk, bro? Like you. I think was it when you were in Mexico. You said to me, "I need to be on the next pod," and obviously we had a little break. So why did you need to be on the next pod? What's going on, bro?
The thing is, like, I know you laugh at me in it, but 5 weeks ago, I told you I went on that ESPN show and I said it's coming. You could tell it was coming, and it's one of them where it's like, because obviously, like as a content creator, as a reporter, whatever, you want to be able to like speak about it and you want to be able to be really passionate about it. But like just like as a fan, it would be pathetic of me to sit here and genuinely be like upset or annoyed at the poor form when we did the treble last year and won 4 Premier Leagues in a row. Like I'm not immature enough to think that my team can win everything forever. But this was inevitable. I'm surprised it happened this season and not last season, to be completely honest. I thought it was always going to happen. When you're competing on all 4 fronts for 4, 5, 6 years, and we're not really rejuvenating the squad, like the midfield we have now is not that different to the midfield we had in the like 100-point season. We still had Gundogan, we still had Bernardo, we still had Kevin De Bruyne. So we haven't really rejuvenated the team. I think the last 2 windows, when you look at it now, are quite poor. I think the fact that we've basically never had a natural left back since Alexander Kolarov in 2017. The only natural right back we have is Kyle Walker, who can't do the only thing that he was good at, which is outpace wingers. I mean, we obviously saw that yesterday, got absolutely skinned by Werner. And then you've got a midfield where you have the best player in the world, but no backup for him whatsoever. A really poor signing in Calvin Phillips, but then no attempt to like rectify that. 4 windows we had with Calvin Phillips, but no attempt to rectify it. Like we bought Mateus Nunes, but he's a different caliber of player, different type of player. And then the only player that you get to back that up is Gundogan, who's now 33 and just doesn't even look like the same player. So it's a shame. Like I think the windows haven't helped. I think obviously it's really, really hard motivation-wise when you've broken all the records. I do think it's probably hard to do that again. And then you factor in the fact that there's an injury crisis. And we said on the ESPN thing the other day, like people don't have sympathy for City, which is fair. Like Pep's almost spent like over £1 billion, right? There's amazing players. There's obviously like a wealth of talent, but people go on about this really deep squad. It's just not really true. There's 15 or 16 players that Pep will only ever turn to. He very, very rarely turns to anyone else. And at the moment, we've got 9 of them out. So, like, what do you expect? Like, yeah, the players on the pitch probably should be doing a little bit better, but it was bound to happen. It was bound to happen, I think. And I can't be too disappointed about it. The manner in which it's happening is frustrating. Like yesterday, I knew we were going to get smashed by Spurs. They're the worst team for us to play. We don't have a midfield, and you're coming up against. I mean, we said it the other day. Probably the best midfield in the league, one of the best midfields in the league, and then 2 incredibly quick wingers. Like it was just bound to happen yesterday.
I mean, like, I kind of want to, yeah, I kind of agree, but I was actually surprised yesterday when I saw, like, Davina, I want to hear what you think on this. Like, I didn't know that really until I finished the game that Van de Ven and Romero were missing. And
Yeah.
I know, like, the reason why I can't like with the injury, you are going through an injury crisis. There's no doubt about that. You've lost the best player in the world and various other players that are key to make you work. I just struggled to allow that sort of that sort of narrative when we had everything last season and no one gave us the blight. It's obviously not you, but that's just
Yeah, yeah.
being a United fan, that's the way it is. But it's kind of, the drop off has been quite strange. Like it hasn't like, I think you were kind of unfortunate to lose in the manner you did to Sporting, for an example, because I don't think you deserve to concede four. I think similarly against Spurs, I think you did have chances, and losing 4-0 is harsh, but that is football. But it's kind of, losing 5 on the bounce is, everyone's Man United fan said this, so I'm going to have to say it. Sir Alex in 26 years never lost 4 in a row. Even Ten Hag never lost 4 in a row. So it's like it is.
These guys.
No, but it is a lot. So it's like, what my thing is, I guess, with these, because I'm just looking from the outside looking in, and I don't know, but you see the charges go in, you see these results happen, you see a Pep extension, 0 bounce, you don't see a plan B. Like, does that worry you as a City fan? And I guess onto Davina, like, does it, like, not having your 2 best centre backs, does that make you feel even better about your performance and where the future is for Spurs as well?
Yeah, I mean, if we want to stay on City for a bit, I can go on. Otherwise,
Yeah, do, bro, do. We don't get many chances like this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as a Spurs fan, I'm firstly very, very happy about the result yesterday. I was there, best away day I've ever been on. Glad I could take my brother as well. But it's crazy because I was there for the first City loss in the Carabao Cup, and there, it was you wouldn't be able to tell that you'd go on that run of 5 losses in a row, like as a Spurs fan, right until the very end. Like we were on edge. We were always like vulnerable to City's attack. And I think like I could not have told that. I mean, as a City fan, you would know, and you said you saw this coming, right? But like I I am unsure about what's happening. Like you're built on intensity and control, and now it's just unraveling. Like yesterday with our wingers just running up and down, like without that killer edge up front, I think the players looked like kind of lost, and you could feel the frustration in the stands. Like Pep's looked unusually subdued. And do you think, like you said, you saw this coming? Is it a rough patch, or are we witnessing like something
Is this the
massively
end?
deeper? Because
Say it as it
it's
is.
sort of
Is
like
this the end?
it's completely uncharted territory for City, and I feel like all of us could laugh. Wow, 5 losses on a bounce, but yeah, well, how do you get out of this?
I don't think it's the end. I think it's going to be a season, and Jurgen Klopp had them as well, right? Where he finished like 7th, 8th.
Chill, bro.
4th.
Just
I
chat about
think-
your team. Just chat about your team, innit?
No, but I think it's going to be one of those seasons. Honestly, I think the performances over the last 5 games have made me think we're probably not in a title race. It's like a top 4 race now. And honestly, like from an emotional standpoint, I think it's fine. I am surprised. I think the drop off has been insane in quality of performance. But what I would say as well is like the mentality, I think, is something which is wrong. Because yesterday, let's be honest, we probably should have been like 3-0 up after 10, 15 minutes. Right?
Absolutely.
We had so many chances. We should have scored. And then we concede 1 goal. And it's like no one remembers how to play football anymore. No one has any belief
I've
in
been there,
themselves.
bro. I've been there. All
And I don't.
last season, that was me.
But I don't understand that. Like City, like Pep City have been like the phrase is like mentality monsters, but they have been. Like they go 1-0 down, and then you inevitably know they're going to win 2-1. On the last day of the season, you're losing 2-0 to Villa. I'm not bothered. I've got my arms behind my head. I know the 3rd goal's coming. Do you know what I mean? That's what this whole thing has been founded on. So I do think the mentality shift is really weird. I feel like we are laying down. But then in the 5 individual games, I don't want to be completely deluded, but I think Carabao Cup against Spurs, we obviously had a very weakened side. You had quite a strong side. I thought we played quite well. I thought we potentially could have got a draw. Against Brighton, we should have been out of sight. Against Sporting, we should have been like 5-0 up in the first half. So there were obviously like a lot of problems going on the pitch. I think the fact that Haaland's got 9 goals more than anyone else in the team. I think Haaland's on 12. The closest is Kovacic on 3. That's a huge problem because there's no sharing in the goals. Phil Foden's had a massive drop off. Bernardo Silva's had a massive drop off. De Bruyne's been out the whole season. So it's quite hard for us to be scoring lots of goals when our main midfield threats are off form drastically or on the sidelines. I think this season will. I just think this season will just be an odd season. I think it's probably not going to be one of those. Like, there's obviously been a lot of talk, like, oh yeah, but it gets to Christmas and there's going to be 16 wins in a row. It won't be like that this year. You can tell really just from how we're playing and from everything that it won't be like that. I think we'll have a slump. I think it will continue. To be honest, I think we'll lose against Liverpool. So I think it'll be 6 in a row. And then I think we'll probably start picking up points a little bit towards Christmas. I imagine us being 3rd or 4th. And then it depends what we do in the transfer window. No signing really hits the ground running with Pep. We usually give him like 6 months to a year. But if there's a right profile of player who comes in, particularly a midfielder, then it could change and we could see a really late push for the title. But I do think this season might be like a rejuvenate, get back together, and then in the transfer window next summer, just spend the money that we need to.
See, the reason why what you just said, what you just described, I don't know if the non-Man City fans in the conversation are going to agree, but like with other clubs, this like reset thing is quite normal. So like for us, we're going like, yeah, like it makes sense. Like when Klopp was having that terrible season, the summer came, you reset. The next season, you go. Spurs have had it up and down with various different managers, and United have had it at times.
We've been resetting since Poch left.
Yeah, bro. You're
since Sir Alex left. So
yeah. Both of you lot are just hitting reset every 4 weeks, to be honest. But like so for us to go, oh, City are resetting. To me, like I'm going, I don't think. Maybe it's just because I'm a Liverpool fan, but I don't think it's like it's gonna be in 6 months. I think the reset in like 4 weeks. Like they could reset at Anfield. This is what Kim was saying the other day. Like after watching the Spurs game, and I agree with you actually, Kim. City could have potentially not lost that game and could have won the game before it was lost, if you know what I mean. So like, if that had happened, if City scored early, I think City win the game. So equally, I'm going, that could easily happen at Anfield.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking about, the sort of psychology, because that game yesterday, like you said, we could have won it in the first half, but then we lost 4-0. Like, that's not a tight game in the end. Like, we got ran ragged towards the end, but in the first 20 minutes, it was incredibly close. Same with Sporting. Conceding 4 goals to Sporting is not great. Like, I know Ruben Amorim's obviously a good manager.
Like even one of the penalty decisions, I'll be fair, like I don't think one of them was a penalty. I think you were very unlucky, but it was kind of the reason why I don't sympathise with whatsoever. By the way, I don't care. But I think the reason why I recognise a lot of it is because I saw it all last season, and I've seen it in at darker periods where, because there's so many games that people will laugh where we got battered under Ten Hag, where actually for a good portion of the game we could have and should have been on top. We should have won the Charity Shield against you lot as a good example. You two battered us, so I'm not even going to go into you two. But I think there are so many different examples of that. So I guess like when you see that happening, part of you wants to look at all the better things and look at the solid bits that you've got, because you've got way more of that than we ever had. I think one thing I just kind of wanted to ask you about is the charges, and it's become a bit of a meme and it's become a thing, but does that weigh? Does something like that must weigh on the heads of all of the players that are there, especially the new ones coming in? Savinho hasn't hit the ground running, and quite a few haven't. So is it like, do you find it something that is lingering? Because Begiristain leaving, I think, has really, I don't think it's not due for 6, but I think going forward it is still a big statement.
I really don't think the charges have anything to do with performance on the pitch. I just don't think they do, because it's been going on long enough that the players aren't astute enough or intelligent enough in legal matters to think, oh right, it's coming up now, so let's get affected by it mentally. There's no chance at all. I think when we just lost 4 games in a row and Pep hadn't extended, I was thinking maybe Pep's a bit worried because he thinks that we're going to get caught and he doesn't want to be there next year and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like Pep's 2-year extension just proves to me what I've thought all along, which is that City, whether they're guilty or not, will be found not guilty of all 115 charges, because he wouldn't stay. He wouldn't bother putting his reputation on the line for that. So he must be very confident. And
that is
the Cunha Begiristain thing, I think, was going to happen for a long time. I know that's been in the works for a long time.
Yeah, no, I was sorry to cut you off, but that quote there of saying, if they are guilty or not, will be found not guilty, that sums up football right now, doesn't it? That is.
The thing is, I think you were careful with your words, because I think what you want to say is we're going to get away with it.
Yeah.
But I think
he said that if we get caught and not charged.
Yeah.
No, look, That's just semantics. That's just semantics, pure and simple. That's just word choice. So I don't think that's affecting them. I just think, honestly, like you don't want sympathy. You don't want to give too much sympathy to City, and you don't want to give too much sympathy to these players who've got the best job in the world and they're on 400 grand a week, whatever. They're probably just tired. Like, we obviously want to ham it up and we want to make a big deal out of it, but the fact is, they're probably absolutely knackered. They've been held to leather for 4 or 5 years. They've done everything they could possibly do. They've won everything, and their bodies are probably just knackered, and the motivation's just probably gone a little bit. It's not going to last forever.
Mhm.
We'll be there or thereabouts. I just don't think we're probably in the title race, particularly when like Liverpool are playing this well. But it's not like you talk about crisis. Like, okay, it might be a crisis in terms of points, but I don't think there's any internal crisis, because I think there's probably an acceptance, as there is among fans. I think there's probably an acceptance amongst the players and Pep. Like, we can't win everything all the time. Nobody can. So we will come back from it. I just don't know how long it'll take.
Spurs also, in credit to Spurs,
You're brilliant.
but they're so
So
weird, bro. Like,
It's so weird. And like, it's actually like, you think it's weird. Imagine supporting this club. Like, it's so strange. I think like this whole Spurs narrative is like a roller coaster. One week we're like dismantling City at the Etihad. Then like the week before we lost at home to Ipswich. Like, it's
but
how does a
Davina, why
team?
is that? You tell me. You're
I,
at every game. Why is this happening?
okay, so it's like, for me, the question is, how does a team capable of outplaying reigning champions fall flat against lower league sides? You know, we drew against Leicester, we lost against Palace, lost against Brighton. That Brighton game is like ingrained into my brain after that brilliant first half. It was like the first time I've watched Sky Sports and we've actually had praise at half time, and it all went to pieces in the second half. Like, I think for that, it comes down to inconsistency, and it's been like Spurs' Achilles heel for years. I think Ange is clearly trying to build something so exciting, but these dips really highlight the need for a bit more depth, maybe even more maturity in the squad. And it's one thing to play electric football on your best days, which clearly yesterday was one of our best days, because I can't remember the last time we played that well and put our chances to bed. Like, first shot on target, Madison scored. And like Kim said, the first 10, 15 minutes, me and my brother in the away, and we're like, it's going to be a long day. Why have we come all this way? And then literally 12th minute, I think Madison scored, and we just continued like that. And yeah, it's really challenging, because yeah, play good football on your good days, but truly great teams show up when it's scrappy, ugly, like nothing's going their way. And that's how you get actual achievements. And Spurs don't seem to have that. Our away form has been so poor. We've won one away game this whole season. That was against Manchester United. And it was just, they have the talent, they have key players. It's about finding that mental edge week in and week out, and it will come. I think Ange is the right manager for it. I know over the international break, when everyone gets bored, they just start screaming Ange out like they do every month. But yeah, I think it's just that mentality, that edge, that confidence that Spurs need to just be more consistent with, because we can see how well we play when everything clicks, even without our first choice centre back pairings. We've gone to the Etihad twice without Van de Ven and Romero. I mean, last year we were playing with Davies, Emerson, Royale. This year we've had Davies and Dragosin. Like, as soon as we saw the lineup, we're like, oh, it's over. Even though it's City, it's still over. And when they put their minds to it, you can grind out a result. But it's just, why did they come out with stupid results like we did a month, 2 weeks ago, and then play a performance like we did yesterday? It's difficult to understand.
It's so weird. Sorry, I wanted to very quickly ask you a question. We were chatting in the WhatsApp group after the Spurs game, and someone said to me, not to me. There's about 25 of us in the group, but just said, "Has Son wasted his career at Spurs?" And I love Son, like, and I do think he is one of the best finishers I've ever watched in football. And I think the debate started because someone said something about trophies. Son's probably going to leave Spurs at some point, and he's probably not going to touch a Premier League trophy or get close to one. What's I don't. What's your thoughts?
I think that's a lot of it's pretty much the same discourse around when Harry Kane left. Like, has he wasted his career at Tottenham? And I mean, I've heard like every argument about it, and it's true in the sense that when we had our team at our prime on the back of like, I'd say not even the season of the Champions League final, because I always still say that the Champions League final run was a massive like it wasn't sort of like reflective of the form of Tottenham at the time. Like we were awful in the league.
Mm.
It was around the time, like we came second against Chelsea 16-17. We were building something 17-18. Harry Kane was amazing. Son was amazing. We had like Danny Rose, Kyle Walker, and we just didn't sign anyone for 2 consecutive transfer windows. So when people ask, have Tottenham failed players like Kane and Son? It's true. Like I have nothing to hide when we say that, because what we should have done when we had a team that was almost there, we were finishing in the top four. We were getting to like semi-finals and crumbling. We lost against like Manchester United in the semi-final in the FA Cup. We lost against Chelsea in the semi-final of the FA Cup. Like we were almost there, and we just didn't build on the team that we already had. And then players were leaving, like Kyle Walker left, like Ericsson. Like it was the core of our team then couldn't stay at Tottenham for long enough for us to succeed with that team, and we should have built on that teamwork, the cohesiveness, and the results that we were getting on paper. The trajectory did show that we were going to get there, and then we, like you said, hit that reset button and had to build from the start. So like the argument that Son has wasted his career at Tottenham is a relevant one, and you can actually argue that. But for me as a Spurs fan, I'm not a trophies are everything about football. The individual career he's had at Tottenham is amazing. He's captain of the club, captain of his national team, and like he's won individual awards. But if we're looking at it from a team perspective, it's so clear. Like that argument of Son has wasted his career at Tottenham. Son has, Kane has, any player who wants to win a team trophy that stayed in Tottenham during their prime has wasted their career.
Yeah, it's a tough one, I think. Like I always think with players like that, I just go back to the thing that Alan Shearer keeps saying when he gets asked the question, because obviously he was linked with us, and then he says, what he has at Newcastle he couldn't get anywhere else. And you do think like Son is an icon. Son is a South Korean icon, and he's grown exponentially from when he was at Hamburg to Leverkusen to Spurs. And you're right, Davina, that team, like you've had outstanding players at various different times. You think, oh, if all them played together, then maybe that, like you had Bale, you had Modric, you had Dembele.
He literally came for a cameo, scored 13
Yeah.
Premier League goals, and then went back.
Yeah, exactly. And
No one ever. We had Kane, Son, and Bale, and what
Yeah.
did we do? Sack our manager before a cup final.
True.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's hard. Like Son has had a brilliant career, and he will go down as one of the best like wingers of this generation for sure. And he's had to change his role a few times. And like it's like I think the connection he'll have with Spurs and the connection that the Spurs fans have with him is probably worth more than like you want titles, you want all this, but I mean Tom cleverly won a couple of Premier Leagues, and I don't really miss him. Like I think there's I think there's a limit to it. But Son is a top player, and I don't think
I think I completely agree with like the legacy that he will leave at Tottenham. Like even Harry Kane is so loved at Tottenham, even though he's now left, and it's going to be so hard for another striker to come in at Tottenham. And even like every striker that comes in is going to be, oh, but he's not Harry Kane. Or if we had Harry Kane, he would have finished that. We have that conversation every week at the stadium. I think what happens is when, in like 20 years' time, people will look back at a team like Tottenham and look at Son, and in terms of his legacy outside of Tottenham, it won't exist. So when we're talking about like the best wingers in the Premier League or the best finishers in the Premier League, Son might not be able to be sort of like viable to be in those conversations, because what is there to show for it? And that is like, that's the truth of the matter. When you look back on like the best players, there could be individual very talented players. We've got nothing to show for it on paper apart from like golden boots.
You know why that's a really good point? Because I think that's why Jamie Vardy enters the conversation all the time now.
Because he's got a Premier League medal.
Yeah, if he didn't win the
And
league with Leicester,
an FA
like
Cup.
no one's chatting about him as like no one says he's one of the best strikers in Premier League history. But whenever you have that conversation, someone in the conversation some hipster will always go, yeah, but Vardy though. Whereas like,
yeah, look at what he did in the season that Leicester won the Premier League.
Whereas Son's, I hear it, like, which is sad. Steven Gerrard. Yeah, chill though. But he's actually he's an anomaly. He's an alien.
Yeah, he is.
But I do actually think, and Liverpool fans might hate me for this, but I do think Son's an alien. Like Son's been incredibly consistent. He's been fit season in, season out. Even against, I know it's Kyle Walker, but even against City, he put Walker on his backside about 4 times.
Great. We haven't seen that part of Son for a while. Like it was so refreshing to see Son like take a man on, like make that run, and he could have had an amazing goal.
But let's be real though. There's a reason he was going after Walker.
Yeah.
There's certain fullbacks that Son goes, I can still be a winger against this guy. Against Walker, who's like, I could be a winger against this guy. Very quickly, obviously, we were sort of hoping there was a huge narrative from the Man U Ipswich game, but we have to talk about him because he's gorgeous. Ruben Amorim. He's bro. Hold on, pause. More importantly, let's talk. Before there was 2 or 3 sides there, and I don't want to hear none of it. Kim, you're anti Ruben Amorim's attractive, aren't you?
No, but he's a very good looking man.
What's the problem then?
What do you mean? What's my problem? He manages Manchester United.
Oh, but the two things are not mutually exclusive. You can say,
J-Lo could manage Manchester United, and I'd call her ugly.
Bro, just say his lang, man. He's got it. Like, the hair's
That's
nice.
it will never come out of my mouth. Impossible. As soon as he gets that little tracksuit on with the devil, nothing.
He was wearing a tracksuit today. He came in his own kit. He came in, I think,
Montclair puffer, man. He's
Yeah,
good.
man.
You know the edge of his puffer is reminiscent of a Liverpool kit, the collar.
Excuse me? We'll have none of that. No.
Hey, I need to see this.
I watched the game with a Manchester United fan. He was like, "I can't believe you just said that."
Yeah,
It's reminiscent of a Liverpool collar, like I think it was your away or third shirt when you had like that teal edging.
Bro, I need to have a look because evidently I don't shop at Montclair, so I don't know what that collar looks like. Davina's like, yeah, I've seen that one, and there's another one in the store as well. You should have got that red one. Dev, what was your vibes after the first game?
Oh, I was underwhelmed, man. Like, there's no way to look at it other than that because you won the new. We had a Ruud manager bounce, and you'd want another one from this manager as well. But he said it perfectly after the game that the players looked like they were thinking too much, and there was a lot to think about. There was, having to deal. You say new system, it's an alien system for the majority of these players, and you're looking at the players who actually played in that role, which is why I'm never going to overreact to this one, but. I'll hedge my bets and say that in a back three under Ruben Amorim, I'm probably not going to see De Ligt, Mazraoui, and Evans ever again. And I'm not going to see a midfield two of Casemiro, who's just had a 10-hour flight back and forth from New York. He's probably tired, bless him. And Christian Eriksen. We're not going to see that, and we're probably not going to see. Garnacho purely as a left-sided attacking midfielder when Ahmad is having to play as a right wing back. We're not going to see that level of imbalance again because we do have the players back now. And I think what was nice is that we did get to see him chop and change throughout the game. And we did see elements of control come back in. I think the only thing that was worrying is that there was no attacking threat. Ipswich had all the best chances, and I have no qualms in saying that Onana was brilliant, and he has been brilliant this season, and I think we should give him his flowers. But, seeing Delap and Smodic kind of run around De Ligt because he was the only centre-back, genuine centre-back that could stop him, I kind of expect that. But we did play some neat stuff. We did control the game in the second half. I think 72% possession in that. So there are little signs there, but he said it perfectly. They were thinking way too much. And when his main players come back and when we actually see the development of that squad, then I think we'll be fine. And I think he did say with the likes of Cassie and Eriksen, and we all kind of said about half time, he better bring these players off. He better not wait until 60, 70 minutes. He waited 10. Both of them got hooked off, and he made sure that we changed up the entire system straight away. So he's learning about this squad really quickly. He only had 2 days to work with who came back. He still hasn't got them all back yet. He only had 2 days to work with them. And the other ones were the ones that weren't on international duty because they're probably not performing. So, there's no reason to panic whatsoever. And I think when we see Martinez, De Ligt, Yoro, Mazraoui in a proper position, Dallo in his proper position, Mainu, Ugarte, we'll start seeing these players actually start to flourish a little bit more. But no reason to panic. It was just a bit, you wanted to keep the good vibes were there. He was taking all the pictures with the staff. He was looking nice. People said I looked like him. I started calling him uncle. It was starting to get to a nice stage, and then it just felt.
Dev, there's a weird trend here though. Any brown guy on the internet with a beard, people keep saying to us we look like him, and I'm like, me and you don't look alike. So why don't we look like him?
Bro, it is what it is. But nah, man, I don't. I'm really happy we got him. I still I know I said last time that, and I've been kind of mean for it, that Ten Hag's Ajax, no one excited me more than him, and Amorim doesn't excite me as much as that. It's still kind of true because I was more excited about the Ajax team, but the way he's been carrying himself, the way he's been talking, the way he kind of relishes the challenge, and he doesn't shirk any responsibility straight off the bat. He says it how it is. I think it would be fine, but it was just flat and it was unfortunate. Nothing more than that.
I think when you scored early, I was like, oh, it's going to be like a fairy tale game.
Yeah.
Like, I thought Rashford scores from an Ahmad Maisie run, the guy he played at right wing back. Commentator was obviously loving it as well. So I was like, this is going to be like a 2-3-0 composed win, and they're going to go like, oh, it was sick. Lo and behold, Ed Sheeran got more camera time than Amorim. And I was like, why is this still happening, bro? Like, get this guy off my screen. Random Ed Sheeran related question actually just came to my head. Where's he rank as musicians? Like all time? Because I was
live.
He's quite up there for me because he's collabed with like South Asian artists.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I did see actually.
I like that a lot.
Still G. But he does it like I saw him live and he does. How have we got in it? But I've seen him live at I went to Wembley to watch him and he does like he has the loop pedal and he creates the track and he does like different layers.
He's pretty good,
musician,
man.
The boy is up there. I'll be honest.
I think he's up there.
Yeah,
I think he's pretty up there.
In conclusion, I'm all right with Amorim. I think let's just move on from him.
Yeah.
He's gonna be fine.
Let's draw a line here before I get cancelled for being just normal. Anyway, Leicester just sacked Steve Cooper. I actually didn't even clock this until I looked at the notes very, very quickly. They're 16th in the league, they're above Wolves, they're above Palace. Why is he getting sacked? What's going on?
It's harsh, that, isn't it? Like you said that before we got on, Kim. I think that's quite harsh. That.
Yeah, I think it's really harsh. I mean. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I don't think they play like unbelievable football, but then you really look at their squad. Probably one of the worst in the league, second worst in the league.
Championship squad.
It's a proper championship squad, and they're second. I mean, they were pretty terrible in the first half against Chelsea yesterday, to be fair. But I mean, I don't really know what you expect. Your best player now, Fatawi's injured. Your best player is a 36-year-old Jamie Vardy. Like, it's a bit harsh giving him the sack.
And only like this early on in the season as well. I feel like it's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
I wonder if something's gone on behind the scenes because I do think on the pitch doesn't seem to make too much sense why he would get the sack before Christmas.
Think there has been.
Whenever I've watched them, I feel like they always put up a fight in a game, which is like Southampton will get rolled over. Ipswich are another one that I think they put a fight on, especially at home. But Leicester, home and away, every game I've watched them, they're always there and thereabouts, just don't have the quality, so it's like understandable.
Yeah.
It is just
They've always got that Premier League mentality, haven't they, with Championship players?
Yeah,
they will probably stay up, and they probably would have stayed up with Cooper, I think. I do think it's really harsh. I don't know what's gone on there.
Mourinho at Leicester, oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Please.
Get Ruud. I've said that. I said this when we beat him twice. Like get Ruud van Nistelrooy at Leicester would slap.
That's also a great story.
Ruud beating him twice and then just goes there and keeps him up. Like Ruud. Like I think going from PSV to Man United interim to a lower league Premier League. That's a pretty simple trajectory.
Pretty good trajectory, yeah.
Lampard was linked. I don't know what the odds are. Like the odds don't give that much away, but Lampard was linked. I think if they're getting Lampard, they're going down.
Well, Lampard was close to going to Coventry, and then that stalled. So, I don't know if this is to do with it, but
you know the weirdest thing about that is, imagine that in real world terms. So Coventry and Leicester, that's like going for an interview at I don't know, what's the bottom supermarket around? What's like the lowest?
Cancelled everywhere, man.
Nah.
Just calling out supermarkets.
No. I'm not saying this is not a Frank Lampard thing. This is a football manager thing. Like. How can you be
Londis?
Yeah, how can you get linked to Londis but potentially get a job at Waitrose? The two, be Waitrose store manager, regional Waitrose manager, or just someone who works at Londis. Like football management's the funniest thing in the world. How can you be one or the other?
Sheeran and Londis catching straight from a podcast about City and Ruben Amorim.
Elite episode.
That is crazy.
I do hate Londis. I can't lie. Londis is dead. Deadest
I remember it because we used to have one like close to where I'm from, and I'm like, Londis.
Yeah, in Birmingham we had one down by Walsall. That's mad.
Bro, they have good sweets, man.
Bro,
cherry drops.
Seriously good sweets.
My cherry drops.
Cherry drops.
Just go Tesco. Why are you going Londis?
No,
it's close to us.
Because they don't follow the normal tax implications in it. So anything that the FDA don't approve, it goes to Londis, and you can just get all random stuff.
I didn't know that. To be fair, shout out Londis. We're back in the game.
We're back in.
Anyway, away from Ed Sheeran, Londis, Lampard, football managers, all of these guys catching strays. To finish today's episode, I say finish. There's a long segment to come. But after that Matheus Cunha conversation, there was a lot of conversation about other players in the Premier League who could potentially play at the top level. And I think at the moment we're in a strange position where there's a lot of individual players outside of the top six that probably could break into the top six and play for one of the top teams. So what we're going to do is rank our top 10 players outside of the top six. It's a really simple concept. We're going to name a player, have a conversation. Each person is going to give them a rating from 1 to 10. And at the end, I'm going to top the numbers and basically rank them 1 to 10. But before we do that, who is your 10 out of 10? And then we'll know where your rating lies after that. I'll give mine. Mine's Joao Pedro. For me, he's 10 out of 10, ready to play for an Arsenal, ready to play for Liverpool, ready to play for City if Haaland wasn't there. He could play for anyone in the Premier League. So he's my 10. Kim, who's your 10?
Eze is my 10.
Yeah.
He'd stroll into any team in the world, I think. Honestly, I think maybe bar Real Madrid, I think he'd play, and I think he'd perform.
Okay.
Comfortable.
Dev?
Cunha. I've said it for about a year. I think he's top. I think he's incredible.
Go on, Davina.
Mine's Eze as well. I mean, Tottenham have been long-standing admirers of him for a while, so like naturally he would be massive creative force for Palace. Like, I think he's just been so crucial in breaking down defenses. So yeah, he's. Are you going 10 out of 10? Should there not be 1 out of 10? Like place number 1?
Yeah, I was confused by that.
I was like,
But-
I thought you were starting from the bottom.
But
Are
the
we
idea...
going to add the scores up?
Yeah, you're giving me
I
I got
points.
you got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I'll have to work out who's got the lowest points to finish first. That makes no
Got you.
sense.
Okay, yeah.
All right, let's start with Joao Pedro then. As I said, he's my 10. I think he's probably one of the most complete forwards now. The pass from Mitoma's goal against Bournemouth, if you haven't watched it, is so good. Like, Mitoma's not in the picture when he plays the pass. And I just think his overall game, there's some players you watch and you think the ball sticks to them when they get it. They can wrestle defenders when they want. They can drop off. They can pop passes off. They can shoot from range. They can score both feet. I think he's 25, 26. So for me, it feels like it's like exactly the right time for him to go into the top six and shine. Where are you guys with Joao Pedro?
Yeah, I think he's a very good player, to be fair. He was literally my first pick in fantasy. He's just he's a top quality player, and I think the perfect profile for an Arsenal. I would not be surprised at all to see him at Arsenal in the next year or two. I think he's top quality. I think the only thing I think about these strikers, and I'll say exactly the same thing for everyone on the list, apart from Jarrod Bowen, who I guess is like more of a right winger, is what I said at the beginning of the episode, which is like, it's quite, the step up is massive. In the same way that the step up from the Championship to the Premier League, I can think of 1 or 2 strikers who've ever made the step up, Jamie Vardy being one of them. Everyone else will score like 26 goals in the Championship, come up and score 1 or 2 goals, because the step up is massive. And it's obviously not as big, but I do think the step up into like a top 6 team or a team who's regularly playing Champions League is massive. I'm not sure how much he would shine just because I've never seen it before.
Good.
But I do think he's a top player.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's a level that for an Arsenal, as an example, I think they need a striker that is just a level above. I'm not trying to disrespect Joao Pedro, but like I think the numbers that we're seeing,
what is the level above?
like Gyökeres. I think if we're seeing like a top European proven striker, so I think there are certain elements that I'm looking at the current squad they have, and I'm thinking of the pedigree that Gabby Jesus had before he went to Arsenal. I know it's a different type of profile, but I don't see that massive switch up to Pedro. And similarly with Havertz kind of taking a more forward role, they're 2 completely different types of players, but in terms of output, Havertz has actually been quite solid. So will Pedro come in and, completely diversify everything? I'm not sure. I think there's a type of profile they need, but Pedro's still a brilliant player. I just think, where he's at Brighton, I'm always a bit hesitant because he's enjoying his football at Brighton. He's been there about a year, 2 seasons now, 3, maybe
2.
3.
This being his 3rd, I think.
This being his 3rd. Okay, so now let's see if he can contain this for the next, however many months.
Yeah, and like on that big occasion, like that's where that difference comes in from a lower team side and then playing for an Arsenal, because you'll be playing like more high pressure situations and you'll have to be more consistent with a consistent output. So not only be able to have an impact on your team, but consistently actually provide an output and not just influence how the team play.
Yeah, and mentally as well. Like, I feel like we skate over that so much. But imagine like being a player now and going from having everyone love you. Look at Xerxes now, going from having everyone love you, and then all of a sudden not hitting the ground running, and then having all that pile onto you. Like that plays a massive part, especially when you're going for titles. And there's so many.
Only thing I'd say about Joao Pedro, and this is why I gave him a 10 in my list, is because out of all the players we've got on there, he's one that's gone from Watford in the Champ, who are like a playoff
Mhm.
type team, to Brighton, who are like a top 10 guaranteed team, to then a top 6 team. Like that's why I think his trajectory feels like it makes more sense.
I think like also moving to a team like Arsenal, just to go back to Dev's point with like the pressure and the situation that you're playing in. Playing for an Arsenal, look how many big games you'll have in a season. You'll have all the London derbies. You'll play Manchester United, play City, play Liverpool, and
True.
they'll all be like must-win games. Like there's no room for like dropping points if you want to be a title contender, especially at the place where they're at now. So it's like an even higher pressure situation if you're going for a title contender. Where yeah, do you know what I mean? Like
Let's have your ratings then, because we have 9 other players to get to. Davina, I'll start with you.
so 10 is the best. So
Yeah.
I was gonna give, okay, 6.
Boy, that's low. Kim?
Just thinking about the other players on the list, I'd probably give him a 6 as well. I feel honestly like, and maybe it's just because of the Watford connection, I feel like there's already been like a fairly similar trajectory with like Richarlison. Was at Watford, was by far their best player, goes to Everton,
Great
matures,
shout.
becomes more of a
Great
team
shout.
Great
player,
shout.
and then goes to Spurs and can't
He's
quite cut it.
injured. Bless him.
You
No,
That's literally
bro, I love the guy. I love the guy.
Usually.
Honestly, any time I can get his name into a conversation, I'll get it in because I absolutely love the guy. But he hasn't stepped up in the way that I think he probably would have expected. And I know he's had his problems of injury as well. But
That's made my mind up for me because
Yeah,
I was at a 7. I'm gonna go 6 as well.
I saw Dev's face change there when I heard
That's
Richarlison. I went,
such a
"Oh
good
man,
shout.
Dev was on my side." All right, up next we're going to go with Liam Delap at Ipswich. He's a really fascinating one. To be fair, Kim, he was at City, wasn't he? So how much do you know about
yeah.
like what was the vibe at City when he left?
I think it was a mistake. I think it was a mistake now, and probably more than it would have been a year or two ago. And he didn't do very well in the Championship. And he was one of those players that City had never really had. So I think the fans kind of took to him the fact that he was just like this big, like meaty, bruising striker. I think he was scoring before Haaland even came in. So it was like we'd never really had like the young, just like raw English lad who was just strong and he could just hit it as hard as he could every time he got the ball. So like, I think we all wanted him to do really well, but obviously you go on loan to the Championship and you can't score. It's like there's not that much expectation or that much hope. The way he's playing at the moment, the fact that Haaland hasn't scored in has scored 1 goal in his last like 6 or something like that. Obviously having Delap now would be really, really helpful. I think that's another one of like we were talking before about Chicky Burgeristan, the last 2 windows, a bit of a failure. I think that's another one of the failures. But I do also think that he's at exactly the level where he belongs now. I think he's at
Really?
Ipswich. I think leaving Ipswich to go to someone bigger in January or next year, or maybe even the year after, would be a massive mistake. He's exactly where he needs to be now.
See, I think everyone's going to disagree with me here, but I think there's certain players you watch and you think they've got the minerals. Like there was the run a couple of weeks ago where he darted from the halfway line past 2 or 3 players. I think athletically he's there. Like he's a powerhouse. I think mentally and psychologically maybe not so much because there's a chance against United where he should just pass it down Onana's side. I don't even know why he's I mean, it's a great save, but I don't know why he's blasting it from 4 yards out. But I think a team. I don't know why I was going a team like Spurs, but you know that's always a sense. A team like Spurs should take a shot on him because I think there's a player in there that, like, if you get the right manager in his ear and if you get the right sort of people around him, he'll be like absolutely there and thereabouts. Because I think it's harder to get the athletic stuff absolutely nailed on than it is to get the mental stuff nailed on if you get the right system. I don't know though. Maybe I've jumped early on Liam Delap.
Well, I think on that same point, like he's probably under the right manager for him. Like McKenna was a really
True.
big part of any success that Ollie did have in how the team played and any vibes we had at the time and any results that we got. Because I think with Liam Delap, like he's very early in his journey as well, but he strikes me as that Evan Ferguson type character. And what we've seen with Evan Ferguson is you get an injury when you are that big stocky lad at 19, 20 years of age and it sets you back. Like he's actually, it sounds stupid. he's growing as not. I don't mean as a person, as mentally or morally. I mean like he's actually physically growing because he's
Yeah.
still a kid. So I think if he can stay clear of getting injuries, like which is always just a bit of luck, and he can stay clear of any of that, then I think he's got a good head on his shoulders to actually go from Man City, a cushy role at Man City, and say, no, I'm going to prove myself and go here. So that says a lot about the kid.
I think what we should label him as is like promising talent, and what needs to happen in the future is he needs to build on that promising talent and actually be proven talent, and that's why he's a great addition to the list. But in terms of like ranking, he's again like he's at the right club under the right manager where he can make that impact and move from promising to proven, and that's why I put him as one.
One.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Because
I've
I
given
think
it
he's at the right level. I don't think at this moment in time, the player he is, maybe in the future, he has the potential to be like have this mad impact on a top six club. But if we're looking at players right here, right now, then I think he's at the right level. And I think compared to the other names we have on the list, I'd put him at one.
Yeah, I've
he's
talked a
my
good
one
game,
as
but I'm
well.
kind of putting him at one as well.
Oh,
'Cause it's for
wow.
You're
the
so
same.
shocked at my
No,
answer.
yeah, it's no, I wasn't shocked. Was I shocked?
No,
Oh,
Wade was
oh,
shocked
Dave,
at my
yeah,
answer. He was
No,
like, one.
I
yeah.
don't know. I put him. I mean, this sounds even more mad. I put him at two. So
Okay.
it's actually not that mad. But I don't know. In my head, like I put a sales pitch in for him, thinking someone else might put him higher.
You know,
But
I've just seen the list. He's going at two. I'm putting him at two.
yeah,
Yeah.
fair. All right, let's move on. Let's go with Anthony Robinson. A lot of shouts for the best left back in the league at the moment. There is a real dearth of left backs, to be completely honest. So don't know if it's because he's really good or because the level's really low. But Dev, you put him in, I think, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because obviously Man United are bereft of left backs at the minute, and well, today we actually saw Terrell Malacia come back from wherever he's been,
Wherever he
and
was.
Luke Shaw. Thank God he's okay, frankly. But no, they're both back. But
Bro,
Anthony
Luke Shaw
Robinson.
is officially back. New manager, he's officially
Yeah, of
back for a
course he
while.
is. Yeah. But yeah, with Anthony Robinson, he's just so unassuming with how he goes about his business, and he will always in pretty much in the last two seasons and in this season so far, he will rank in the top percentile for some of the key areas you need him in when it comes to interceptions or forward runs or like even chances created for Fulham. He's in the top percentile with them. So we are now in the left wing back territory. So this is a bit biased because obviously we need someone like Anthony Robinson. But when we're talking about someone ready to make that next step up, I think there's a list of left wing backs that I want, but he's right at the top of that list. So I've given him a 4 on that basis because of the other names we've got. But I think, and also we need to give more love to like positions like that. It's easy to go for the flashy attacking players, but we've seen how bad we've been without a left back for the best part of a year and a half, and he is someone who probably like Fulham are good, but I think he deserves a step up to fight for to higher things than what they can. So yeah, I think he's top.
Kim's fuming.
I'm not fuming.
I just saw.
I'm not
You just look
fuming. No, I'm
proper
not.
angry.
No. I disagree. The more I actually think about it, he's my number 2, and he's sort of like joint number 1 with Delap. Just because you think we're talking about who can make the step up, but he's not as good as Guardiola. He's not as good as Cucurella. He's not as good as Robertson. He's not as good as Calafiori. So he's not as good as Destiny or Doggy. So he's not. Who's he going to step up to? Like he's not
I
as
kind of
good as
disagree.
those
I think he's
players, in
better
my
than Cucurella.
opinion. Anyway, so I don't. For me, I wouldn't put him that high. I don't think he's like a bad player or anything like that. But I just think the quality of players you've got, although admittedly probably left back isn't the strongest position in the Premier League, I do still think that all top 6 have a better left back than him.
I think
Yeah.
Cucurella's not as good as him, frankly, but
I agree with Kim because when I was like looking through the list, it's sort of like who could they go to if they could go to a top 6 team, who would they displace? I just don't think Anthony Robinson would, apart from United where you do actually need a left back and that's your biggest issue. I mean, moving up another level, I think he's a very reliable presence at Fulham, and other than maybe Manchester United because you need someone in that position and you can see him fitting into that team, I've put him at 2 as well.
Yeah, I've got him at 1 because I actually think he's a very good left back for Fulham. Let's do Ollie Watkins next because this is an interesting one, man. Because a lot of people think he is ripe and ready to play for any team in the world, and I'm not sure. I don't know why, but I've seen John Duran come in, and I'm going profile wise. Like John Duran can do what Watkins does, and Emery has a great history with strikers. But I think this season you're seeing the Emery effect directly affecting Watkins a little bit as well. Go on, Kim.
Two things I think I would say when I saw Watkins' name in the list is like I don't really think Aston Villa should be part of this, like not in the top 6 team. I do think it's like 6.5 and Villa are that other team because they are so impressive and they probably won't finish out of the top 6 as long as Emery's there. So I don't really feel like Villa players should really be in this list. What I was also thinking though, and I might be completely wrong, but I was trying to wrap my brain around it. He's 28 now. Have there ever really been players who've made the step up that late and then really succeeded? Like when you're 28, 29, you're probably, or you would hope to be, if you ever want to get to that level, you'd already be at one of those clubs. Like I might be wrong. I was trying to think
I'm
like
trying to
who
think now,
actually made
actually.
a step up that late and then was really amazing for those clubs.
There isn't really
Isn't
any.
many, no.
No.
Yeah, at that age, Casemiro.
I was gonna say Van Persie. I mean, we could say him because
Yeah, like
he's had a
yeah, but yeah, the step up, probably not actually. Like unless again, if
gonna say
you
You do it when you're young and you have like a season or two where you then learn how to like play that step. But I don't think it usually happens this late.
right,
And I
where
think there's probably a reason why no one's really ever gone in for Ollie Watkins.
No, they've always priced him out as well, which doesn't.
Yeah, he's never really been part of like a big transfer room into anyone.
all right, seeing
And
as you
also-
said, Villa are 6.5. Let's just get ratings on Watkins because I think a lot of people are going to watch this and go, "How the hell is Watkins on this list with these players?" Where have you got him, Kim?
Well, I don't know because I just feel like he shouldn't even be on the list. But I guess like
You can't just make your own rules up. City,
guess eight.
City fan, man.
8.
8. Okay.
Yeah, but only because I've seen another name on. No, 7. Because there's 2 better players.
Dev, where have you got him?
I've gone at 7 as well.
Davina?
I've got him 8.
Ooh, I had him 5 purely because I don't personally think any team's going to take a shot on him now.
Like I say though, talking about Villa, I don't think many things are a step up from Villa anyway. I think it would be a sideways step unless you go into Liverpool.
Talking about Spurs and Manchester United, like I guess Manchester United, like stature wise of the club, yeah, but current performance wise, those would both be
Villa are way better,
sideways.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's always like that current versus stature thing, isn't it? Like because I think when we like Bayer Leverkusen are not bigger than Bayern Munich, but it's kind of just like you need to figure that side out. But I still think around a 7.
Villa have stature though. Villa have more stature.
No, they do.
Realistically though, if like United come calling for Watkins and they've got enough money, he's going in it.
Yeah,
like he's not going to go. You know what? Like they might not get champion. He's going. It's just kind of how it is. Like lots of players have done it. Anyway, next on the list, Jared Bowen. And I still, to this day, although now that Salah's hopefully not going to leave him, I think Jared Bowen is the most Salah-like player in the league. Like someone who can score goals in the box frequently, horrible to play against. He's just not nice on the eye. He's not... and I'm basing it actually off the last 24 months because he's not been great this season. So I've got him proper high. I've got him 8th. And I still... the only reason he's not taking Salah's spot is because Salah's probably going to stay, and also Salah's still delivering. But if Salah goes this summer, Jared Bowen's on a 7-year contract. But if he wasn't, that's the guy that I'd say go and get him because you can replace Salah for 2 years with Jared Bowen.
He's done the step up as well.
Yeah,
he's done the step up from the Championship to the Premier League seamlessly. Yeah, he's my 8 as well. He's a top player. He's one of them that I do think because he's not that quick. He's not like unbelievably pacey and he's not that strong. He's one that I would probably worry about. Like, I don't know if he would be a 100% success. Whereas like the player who I've put as my 10, Eze, like I know he could play for anyone and I know he would be a success. Whereas Bowen, for me, there's a few question marks around it. But like as a player on this list, he's better than, he's 8th. So he's better than the other 7.
Yeah, I've got him 7, very similar reasons, but the only thing I don't like about him is the fact that he plays for West Ham. Like apart from like recently, I think his performances have been pretty good, work ethic, versatility wise. like regular calls to the England national team, probably like bar Dimitri Payet, like probably West Ham's second best signing. And I just think that, yeah, to echo Kim, like he's a very good footballer for West Ham. Just sort of it'd be up in the air, question marks surrounding about whether he could do it at a bigger club, but he's still pretty high up. He's my number 7.
Oh no, I've put him at number 5. And I'm not like it's kind of that similar. I've probably shot myself in the foot with the Robinson thing, but it's a similar kind of thing that we're doing with him. But I think he's outstanding for West Ham, and I think he was linked with Liverpool for a little bit. I just think there's a player on this list that I'm going to make a pretty big case for, and a pretty big what's the word, a pretty loud case for, and that's probably what's doing me in a little bit on the on the
Go on, make it now. Who you got?
Semenyo, man. I think I've looked at, like, I know he hasn't done it for a long enough period, but I mean, God, how much time do you need? I think Semenyo, honestly, I didn't expect Bournemouth to be as good as they are. I think they've clearly got a really nice system and they're really good work ethic and everything. But if we're talking about a 2-footed winger where the unpredictability is there, you don't really know what he's going to do. He's very good cross of the ball. He's a good technician of the ball. You've seen him take set pieces at times. He's popped up with some good late goals already. Like, the guy's engine just doesn't run out. And we're talking about developing and where he's going to go. I look at this list and I think this player can't stay at that team for much longer because they're too good and they have to go forward. Bowen, I can still see him staying at West Ham. I'm not saying he's not good enough to go elsewhere, but I can still see him staying there. Cunha, I don't see staying at Wolves, and Semenyo, I do not see staying at Bournemouth. I think he's so strong, and physically, I don't know about mentally. We have to come to that, but he's in a really nice patch at the minute, and he's always shown that when he's come out for cameo appearances. But he just exponentially just keeps getting better, and I think that's a player where he will command a lot of money pretty soon, and Bournemouth will be poorer for it, despite getting the money for him. I think he's brilliant. I don't know what much to base that off. I just see him play, and I just think I'm excited when he gets the ball. He makes me go wow more than a lot of players on this list, and I just think he's outstanding. So because of that, I think he won't be at Bournemouth.
So yeah, he's quite low for me, number 3.
Dev, where did you have him? 7.
7, yeah.
Mad. Okay.
8. Sorry, 8.
Okay, 8.
Yeah.
Davina, you've mentioned Eze as your number 10.
Yeah.
He's been linked to Tottenham so many times.
So many times.
Why is he a 10?
I mean, I think like the creative force that he is and the impact that he's able to make at Crystal Palace, like if Eze plays well, the whole team plays well. And that's why, again, massive bias because I want him at Tottenham. But I think he's so ready for the step up. And going back to other conversations we've had about other players, he's had significant interest from other top 6 Premier League clubs. And there's a reason why he's had that and why others on this list haven't, and why they've stayed at the level that they are, and that people can just admire from afar and sort of say, oh, maybe you'd be good at a top 6 club. Eze has had consistent interest, has been consistently rated. And that's why I think he was my number 1/10.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Eze is the one who will play for one of the biggest clubs in the world. He's probably the only one on that list that you could bet money on playing for a Manchester City, a Spurs, a Liverpool, even like a Barcelona, Real Madrid. I honestly think he's probably that good. My only thing is, and he is definitely comfortably my number 10, my only thing is that I don't think he's been that good for England. And I know international football is different, so I don't even necessarily think that international football is a step up from the Premier League. But that's my only thing, is that when he has been in a team with better players, he hasn't been as good as I would expect him to be. But I think that's probably more of an anomaly, and it's more of an England thing than it is an Eze thing, which is why he's still my number 10.
Yeah, he's my number 9. It was touch and go between him and Cunha, but I just think Cunha's outstanding, and so is Eze. So splitting hairs between the two.
I had him 7 on my list. Mateus Cunha, Dev, your boy. To be fair, I love this guy, but I'll let you do the sales pitch because you've been raving about him since day.
I think he's incredible. Like I didn't like. I knew he came for a lot of money from Atletico, but like Wolves' transfer business is all over the place at times. Either they get a bargain and he's amazing, or they pay loads and they're not great. But Cunha is just different. And what I liked is that Gary O'Neill is kind of relishing the fact that they don't know where to fit him in, so they kind of let him run free. And when he does that, he's shown he might not be the best defensively, but you can't all be Wayne Rooney and do everything. But like he is the type of player where you need the game to change he will change the game for you. And against Fulham, I remember Fulham probably having definitely having the rub of the green, like, and having the better seesaw of the match at the time. But then he gets the ball, and all of a sudden it changes. That both of his goals were incredible, and
Yeah.
he's been known to do that. Like, but plucking the ball out of the air like a Bergkamp flick into the goal, like if a big name player does that, it's getting replayed all over the shop. And then when you're just turning on the half turn outside the box and you're blasting it in top right stanchion, it's like it's just ridiculous. But it's that versatility of goals, it's the versatility of threat. And I don't. His link up play is exceptional, and he's also physically a very gifted player as well. Like, he's athletic, he can run through people, he can run around people, and when he gets there, you kind of think he has the coolness to slot things away. He's got a bit of that arrogance and ego about him. So I just think he's made for a top club. And Wolves, where they are at the minute, is that this is another thing that factored into it. Like, Wolves aren't doing great. I know they got a good win at the weekend, but they could quite easily like lose a lot of their best players soon because of where they will end up. And Cunha, I think, is right at the top of that list. So I think out of everyone here, he is destined to go somewhere in the next window. So I think he's incredible.
I gave him a 9. I think Dev's done all the talking for Cunha, to be fair. And I think unless Davina or Kim, you feel completely the opposite. I think everyone can appreciate his talent. That's why I've got him as a 9. Davina, where you got him?
I've got him as 9 as well.
Wow.
Kim?
Well,
Oh,
I've got him as 5. I've got him as 5, but only because I think there are players that are better than him in this list. Like I say, like I do think Bowen is a better player. I don't think Watkins should be in the list. I think Ez is better. So I think that's the only place where he can go. But I mean, yeah, you're right. He's a fantastic player, and I'm sure he won't be at Wolves for particularly long. If they go down, he'll be the first player to leave. But I just think there's one person in particular who's coming up who I think plays in a similar position to him and is better.
All right, we won't go to that person first. Let's do Emi Martinez. I personally don't think this needs a chat. I think everyone knows his talent. So we'll just give ratings. I've got him 3rd. I just think the age he's at, like, no one's going to sign him. Plus, he had his big move, didn't work out, and so therefore, I think, yeah, you're staying exactly where you are. But I still think he's super talented. What do you reckon, Dev?
Yeah, bang on. I think he's exactly where he needs to be, and he's at the age he's at, what he's already achieved. This is the zenith of his career, and he should be quite happy with that.
What's your rating?
3.
Davina?
I've got him at 5.
You think he's getting a move?
Not that he's getting a move, just more that he might be at a higher level than he is at Aston Villa. It was more so like whether he can, not really like whether he can get a move or not. That's not how I did my list. It was more so like, is he performing at a level which is beyond where he can be?
Got you. Kim?
I put him as 8 because I did my list as in the same way I did it, like who could perform for a better team. I think he's the second best keeper in the league. So I think he could play for most teams in the world. He's a World Cup winner. He's one of the best shot stoppers I've seen. So
yeah, absolutely.
And finally, we'll finish on Mbeumo. Kim, you have a sales pitch because you said something to do with Mateus Cunha that was related to Mbeumo.
He's just been doing the same as what Cunha's been doing, but for longer. And that's kind of my only basis on putting him there. I just think he's a fantastic striker. He's another one of those, again, I could go blue in the face saying it, who like it's a bit unsure whether he can make the step up. And he's a bit unsure whether he would, kind of have the same numbers and the same quantity of goals. But like, he's one of those players that I just love watching. I just love watching him play. Like every single time Brentford are on Match of the Day, like, he'll just do something. Just like, he's just electric. He's a bagsman. Like the way he strikes the ball, it's like a computer game. Like it's like literally destination A, like from A to destination B, which is the back of the net, and it happens within like 1 second. Like I just absolutely love watching him. So that's why he goes above Cunha.
I've put Mbeumo at number 4 purely because I think he's still like a top player, but it's sort of that. Again, I just don't see him going much further beyond Brentford. I actually think he's in a really happy spot. Like I'm with my list, what I've realised is that I'm looking at players who, I think can't be happy there because they can do so much more, or they are happy there and they're actually fine their level. So, and Mbeumo, I think is a brilliant player. I just think, do I see him going and like at this stage in his career to a Tottenham or to like, I don't know who else no one's getting in at Chelsea. There's too many players, but Tottenham is where I saw it. And I just think, is he going to get in there ahead of Kulusevski? Is he going to be happy there? I just think where he is now, that is where he should be. And that is where, like, I think he sort of belongs in the nicest way possible. But that's probably the best way to keep him. So yeah, I'll put him there.
Yeah.
Davina, where you got him?
Put him at 4 again. Like what Dev said, in the top 6, where could he ideally fit in? I think like Tottenham, Chelsea. Tottenham is like a potential move for a lot of players because we're trying to fill in or add a lot of depth to our squad, and I just don't think he'd get in the team or anywhere near the starting lineup, replacing or displacing any of our like a Kulusevski at all. So yeah, that's why I've got him as 4.
All right, I'm going to do the maths, add these up, and I'll let you know where our list ranks. Give me 2 seconds. I've taught it up, done the maths successfully without the help of anyone else. I'll go 1 to 10. Matheus Cunha, number 1. Joao Pedro, 2nd. Bowen, 3rd. Eze, 4th. Watkins, 5th. And Bruno, 6th. Emi Martinez, 7th. Semenyo, 8th. Robinson, 9th. And Delap, 10th. I feel like that's fairly accurate, overall. Like maybe a couple of shifts here and there, but I think that's pretty bang on.
Not
Yeah,
bad.
that's fair.
We're satisfied. Kim's probably not satisfied. What are you angry at now, Kim?
Bro, I sit here with a smile on my face for an hour and 25 minutes, and you just cuss me out for being grumpy. What more do you want from me? I'm not allowed to breathe. It was a sigh.
Someone agree with me here.
I think the other people on the podcast are just very emotive. That's
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, me and Kim both have resting, what
Yeah, I've
face.
got a resting bitch face, bro. I'm trying.
Yeah. Bro, we need to work on that. Needs to smile naturally. Anyway, this has been a long podcast. I need to go eat my dinner. And I'm on editing duty, which is just phenomenal. But Davina, Dev, Kim, thank you very much for hopping on. If you're watching on YouTube, then make sure you subscribe. Brand new channel, which is thankfully doing very well. So thank you for the support. If you listen on Spotify or Apple, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts, then make sure you drop a like. You can also comment now on Spotify, and the videos are available on Spotify as well, I believe, if the background team is doing their job properly. If they're not, then let me know as well, and I'll get them sacked. For now, though, we'll see you on the next one.